Your mind is a battlefield when the first 5 seconds and you take back your power. There are moments in our lives when our minds become our own enemies. The world outside might be calm, but inside there's a storm, a whirlwind of self-doubt, fear, and guilt. It whispers, "You're not good enough. You failed again. Nothing will ever change." And sometimes those whispers become screams. But what if I told you that you hold the power to silence those voices in 5 seconds? That in just 5 seconds, you can intercept the wave of negativity and shift your reality. My journey has taught me this one truth. It is not the tragedies that define us, but how we respond to them. And our response always begins in our thoughts. Before the action, before the reaction, there is a thought. If you want to change your life, you must first learn how to change your thoughts. And to do that, you only need 5 seconds of courage. This isn't about pretending your struggles don't exist. It's about reclaiming your focus before your mind drifts to the worst case scenario. It's about taking charge of your emotional state before it takes charge of you. This 5-second trick is your weapon against the noise, your anchor in chaos, and your way out of the mental traps that hold you back. Let's talk about how it works and why it's one of the most effective tools you'll ever use to master your mindset and protect your peace. Pain begins in the mind interrupted before it grows. Pain doesn't always enter our lives like a loud thunderstorm. Sometimes it tiptoes in quietly, hiding behind everyday moments. It's in the silence after a rejection. It's in the echo of someone's harsh words. It's in the gaze you give the mirror, unsure if you like the person staring back. But before that pain grows roots in your soul, you get a moment, a tiny, golden moment. That moment is your space. It's the pause between the pain arriving and the pain staying. And in that space, you have power. You have 5 seconds. That's all. 5 seconds to stop feeding the thought. 5 seconds to choose a different response. It sounds too simple, doesn't it? But the simplest things are often the most powerful. The mind loves patterns. It thrives on repetition. So when one negative thought appears, the mind opens the door wide for more. It's like a guest that overstays its welcome. But when you catch the first one, when you say, "Stop," you break the chain. You shut the door. You refuse to host what was never invited in love. It's not about pretending pain doesn't exist. It's not about smiling through heartbreak. It's about becoming so aware of your own mental space that you guard it like sacred ground. And when the wrong thought tries to enter, you don't welcome it with silence. You interrupt it with strength. You can train your mind to respond with awareness. When it says, "You always fail," you pause and say, "I've failed, but I've also risen." That 5-second choice is a seed. And if you keep planting those seeds, eventually they grow into gardens of peace. Interrupting negativity is an act of self-love. And self-love is not selfish, it is survival. You can't pour light into others if your mind is drowning in shadows. So take that moment, those 5 seconds, and rescue yourself from spiraling thoughts. You don't need a perfect life to have a peaceful mind. You need the discipline to stop entertaining thoughts that work against your healing. That discipline begins with recognizing the first hint of negativity. When it arrives, don't argue with it. Don't explain yourself to it. Just pause and replace it. There is nothing passive about pausing. It's one of the most active things you can do. In those 5 seconds, you are standing in the doorway of your mind, deciding who gets to stay. And that decision determines how you feel, how you act, and who you become. Most people don't notice their thoughts until the damage is done. But you can be different. You can be the one who notices the whisper and chooses not to listen. You can be the one who sees the pattern and breaks it. You can be the one who takes back control. You were not born to be controlled by fear or sadness. You were born to navigate through them with wisdom. When a negative thought enters, ask yourself, is this thought helping me or harming me? If it harms, it has no place in your mind. 5 seconds. That's all you need to choose wisely. There is power in naming your thoughts. Say it out loud. This thought is not me. This thought is not true. This thought has no authority here. When you name the lie, you strip it of its disguise. You see it clearly. And what you see clearly, you can control. You do not have to wait for a breakdown to begin the breakthrough. You can start with one small moment of awareness. That's the revolution. Awareness. In 5 seconds, you become your own healer. In 5 seconds, you remind yourself who you are. And who you are is not someone who gives up. Who you are is not someone who gets stuck in the mud of old memories. Who you are is someone who rises again and again. Because rising is no longer a choice, it's your nature. Interrupting negative thoughts is not a trick. It's a ritual. It's a daily decision to be on your own side. To not believe every passing cloud. To not accept every mental storm as truth. And when you choose that, you begin to see that the mind is not your master, it is your tool. Flip the thought from scar to strength. There are thoughts that feel like ghosts from the past. They creep in when the room is quiet and your guard is down. They remind you of what went wrong, of who left, of what broke. They whisper reminders of moments you'd rather forget. And in those whispers, they try to convince you that you are still broken. But here's the truth. Your scars are not weaknesses. They are your resume of survival. They are not proof that you're damaged. They are proof that you've endured. So when a thought tells you you're unworthy because of what you've been through, pause. 5 seconds. That's all it takes to flip the narrative. You don't need a whole paragraph. You need one sentence. I am still standing. That one sentence carries the weight of every sleepless night and every tear you've wiped away alone. It holds the power of every time you smiled while your heart was breaking. Flipping a thought is like flipping a coin. The situation doesn't change, but the way you look at it does. The pain is still there, but now it becomes your teacher, not your prison guard. The memory is still real, but now it becomes fuel, not chains. Negative thoughts want you to replay your suffering like a broken record, but you can lift the needle. You can change the song. That's the gift of consciousness. And it only takes 5 seconds to use it to say, no, I won't relive this wound as punishment. You're not meant to forget your story. You're meant to rewrite how it's told. Flip the thought. Instead of saying, that broke me, say, that rebuilt me. Instead of saying, that ruined my trust, say, that taught me what trust should look like. This is not delusion, this is transformation. You are not pretending the pain didn't happen. You're honoring it in a new way. You're saying, this will not define me, it will refine me. And that subtle shift done over and over rewires your mind to be a source of strength, not sorrow. There is no shame in having scars. The shame is in hiding them as if they mean failure. They don't. They mean you survived what others didn't. They mean your heart broke open and still chose to beat. They mean you walked through fire and came out the other side. Flipping the thought is a spiritual act. It means you've seen the darkness, but you still choose light. It means you've lost pieces of yourself, but you're learning to rebuild. Not perfectly, not quickly, but beautifully. You don't have to believe the first thought that comes to mind, especially when it tries to shame you. When it says you're not enough, you respond, I am more than enough because I'm still trying. That is the energy that moves mountains. You are not the same person who was broken back then. You are wiser, softer in the heart, stronger in the soul. The thought may be old, but your response is new. That's the magic of flipping it. You give yourself a new voice. Start small. Just notice one thought today that makes you shrink. Pause. 5 seconds. Then answer it. Not with anger, with compassion, with truth. That's how healing begins. With tiny flips, with gentle shifts. Your mind is like a room filled with mirrors. What you say to yourself becomes your reflection. Speak differently. Speak kindly. Even if the voice is shaky. Even if the fear is loud. Because in time, your thoughts will begin to reflect your strength, not your scars. You were not created to live in the aftermath of pain. You were created to rise, to learn, and to teach others how to do the same. So when the thought comes, flip it. When the wound speaks, answer it with wisdom. When the memory bites, soothe it with perspective. You are not broken. You are reborn. Every time you flip the thought. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who notices them. There is a difference between what you think and who you are. But most people never learn that difference. They grow up believing that every cruel thought, every anxious whisper, every shameful echo in their mind is a reflection of their identity. It's not. The truth is far more freeing. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who notices them. The mind is noisy. It speaks constantly, pulling from memories, fears, and fragments of the past. But behind all that noise, there is stillness. And that stillness is you. That awareness, calm, quiet, observing is your true self. The part of you that watches thoughts come and go without grabbing onto them. When a negative thought appears, you don't have to believe it. Just because it's loud doesn't make it true. Just because it's familiar doesn't make it wise. Just because it feels real doesn't mean it reflects reality. Thoughts are visitors. Some come to teach, some come to distract. Your power is in choosing which ones stay. Imagine sitting by a river, watching leaves float by. Each leaf is a thought. Some are beautiful, some are painful. But you don't have to jump in the river. You don't have to chase every leaf. You can sit on the bank and observe. That is your strength awareness without attachment. The mistake we make is thinking we must respond to every thought, that we must wrestle with them, fix them, understand them. But sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. Just noticing. Just breathing. Just letting the thought pass like a cloud drifting through the sky. Negative thoughts often come dressed as logic. They sound like concern, like reason, but they are built on fear, on insecurity. And if you pause just 5 seconds, you can catch the disguise. You can say, I see you, but I don't believe you. In that moment of awareness, you reclaim your identity. You remind yourself that you are not a prisoner of your thoughts. You are the keeper of your soul. You are the witness, not the wound. The watcher, not the war. That realization is liberation. Try this. The next time a painful thought rises, say to yourself, this is just a thought. Don't judge it. Don't fight it. Just name it. Then let it go. Over time, this practice creates space. And in that space, peace grows. The more you separate yourself from your thoughts, the more clearly you see. You see what belongs to you and what was projected onto you. You see what came from love and what was born from pain. And with that clarity, you can begin to choose again. Your thoughts are shaped by many things: trauma, culture, childhood wounds. They are not always accurate. They are not always kind. But you are not bound to repeat them forever. You can become the sculptor, reshaping what the world tried to carve in fear. Even on your hardest days, you are still the observer. Even when your mind screams, your soul whispers. And that whisper carries truth. You are worthy. You are whole. You are more than the passing weather in your mind. When anxiety rises, you don't have to climb into it. When sadness lingers, you don't have to sink in it. You can stand beside it. You can acknowledge it. You can offer it compassion without letting it dictate your day. This is strength, disguised as stillness. Thoughts will always come, that's their nature. But suffering comes when you attach. When you believe every fearful thought as fact. When you allow your mind to build a home from broken bricks. But in 5 seconds, you can pause. And in that pause, you take your power back. Let your awareness be your anchor. When the storm inside your head begins to rise, root yourself in observation, not reaction. Let the waves crash. You are the ocean floor, unmoved, steady, sacred. Choose power over pity every time. There is a moment when the pain feels so real that all you want to do is curl into it. To wrap yourself in pity, because pity feels like comfort. It feels like a soft blanket when the world has been cold. But comfort is not always healing. Sometimes it keeps you in the very place you're trying to escape. Pity whispers, this is too hard. Pity says, you'll never recover. Pity holds your hand but never lets you stand. And in that moment, you have 5 seconds. Just 5 seconds to decide, will I stay here or will I rise? Power doesn't shout. It doesn't slam fists or demand attention. Power whispers, too, but it says different things. It says, you've made it through worse. It says, this pain will not define you. It says, you have a choice even now. When you choose power, you're not denying the wound. You're honoring it. You're saying, yes, I'm hurting, but this hurt will not be the end of my story. That choice doesn't erase the pain. It just gives it purpose. The world often rewards pity. It gives you attention when you're broken. But attention is not the same as healing. Healing is quiet. It happens when no one's watching. It happens in the 5 seconds when you decide to take your next breath instead of giving up. You may feel exhausted. That's real. You may feel alone. That's valid. But pity will keep you stuck. Power moves you forward. And sometimes moving forward means simply sitting up in bed, washing your face, saying one kind word to yourself. Every time you choose power, you become someone new. Not someone who's never been hurt, but someone who refused to let that hurt become their home. You become someone who walked through fire and chose to rise from the ashes, glowing. Pity wants you to believe that your circumstances control your destiny. Power reminds you that your response creates your future. And in that 5-second space, you decide who you are becoming. Sometimes choosing power looks like asking for help. Sometimes it looks like setting a boundary. Sometimes it looks like crying, then choosing to stand anyway. Power is not always loud, but it is always intentional. Don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait for pity to go away. Interrupt it. Say, I know you're trying to protect me, but I am ready to grow. Speak to it like you would a scared child, with love. Then walk forward. No one else can choose for you. Not your past, not your pain, not the people who disappointed you. You alone have the authority to say, this will not be the chapter I stay in. Even if your voice trembles, say it. Even if your hands shake, reach out. Power is not the absence of fear. It's the willingness to keep going in spite of it, to get up again, to speak gently to your reflection, to believe, even when belief feels impossible. And that begins with one small shift, one bold breath, one sacred second. There will always be reasons to feel sorry for yourself, but reasons are not your identity. You can honor your pain without bowing to it. You can feel the weight and still rise under it. You can hold sadness in one hand and strength in the other. You are allowed to struggle. You are allowed to feel tired. But you are also allowed to say, I deserve better. Not in arrogance, in truth, not in anger, in love. That declaration, whispered in the space between thoughts, changes everything. You are not here to shrink. You are here to become, to evolve. To become the kind of person who chooses power, not because life is easy, but because you are brave enough to keep living it with hope. At the end of the day, there is a fleeting, sacred moment where everything can change. It doesn't take a miracle. It doesn't require perfection. All it takes is 5 seconds. 5 seconds to interrupt the chaos. 5 seconds to question the lie. 5 seconds to reach for your strength instead of surrendering to the storm. And in those 5 seconds, you don't need to have all the answers. You just need to choose. Choose differently. Choose bravely. You are not the darkness that visits your mind. You are not the echo of the wounds you didn't deserve. You are not the heavy thoughts that tell you you're not enough. You are the soul that keeps breathing when everything hurts. You are the fire that refuses to go out. And that fire, your light, can be reignited with one powerful pause. This is your invitation to reclaim your mind, to rise above the tide of negative thoughts, to stop the spiral before it begins, to silence the inner critic, not by shouting over it, but by no longer giving it your stage, because you are no longer available for self-abandonment. You are no longer waiting for permission to rise. You are no longer entertaining narratives that tell you you are small. Use the 5-second trick. When doubt screams, pause. When fear grips, breathe. When old stories play, interrupt them. Every time you make that choice, you change your future. You shift your identity. You strengthen your spirit. And the more you practice, the more it becomes who you are, a warrior of peace, a protector of your purpose, a master of your mind. Your thoughts are not in control. You are. And you don't have to climb the whole mountain today. You just need to take the next step. 5 seconds of courage, 5 seconds of awareness, 5 seconds of power. Again and again and again. Until the life in your head begins to reflect the strength of your soul. Because this journey was never about being perfect. It was about becoming powerful. Not through force, but through choice. Through stillness, through truth, through the small, quiet decision to no longer be ruled by the noise within. And the moment you choose that even just one size, the moment everything begins to change.